saying welcome. This is Lou Martin, and here is my dear friend Kathleen O'Leary, who is an artist, an activist, an intuitive. So she's coined the new term, an Artivist.
I haven't coined it.
No? That's somebody else?
No, it's there already. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Kathleen, congratulations on your one-woman online show. That is your first show in 3 years. And it's also part of your recovery of your traumatic brain injury 3 years ago.
No, the brain injury was 2012, but they
Oh, I'm
only
sorry.
diagnosed it. They only diagnosed it in 2017.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's your first show in 3 years, though.
I've done group. I've as a filmmaker, I've worked with. In 2018, I worked with a project with a writer, director, and actor on suicide.
Okay, but this is your first art show since that diagnosis, which was life-changing for you.
Yeah.
Okay. All
very
right.
much so.
Okay. Good. Now, there we go. All right. Good. All right. So, honey, I'm so proud of you. I mean, I've known you for a little while now. We're doing the Artist's Way together with our dear friend Marianne Adams, and that's been crazy, great fun.
Yeah.
We had a class last night, the three of us, and you're just doing amazing. So I want to support you and give you some space to tell us about your story and help other people that are looking for more art and more strength to overcome their challenges.
Absolutely. I'm all for that.
Okay. So the floor is yours, my friend. What would you like to talk about? What do you want to share with us about your own journey and yourself?
Yeah, well, I suppose at 21 I started art college. And I had left school early, and traveled and lived in Portugal and England, and came back, and there was an art and design course in the school. I went to school in Skibbereen,
right,
in West Cork, and so I applied and I got in, and that was a two-year course that then got me into my degree, BFA in Sligo.
Okay, very good.
It was all going very well, having done 5 years in college, and then 16th of March 2004, American tourists drove out in front of me and kind of changed
your path.
A lot of things about my life.
Yes, bless.
Yeah.
Well, on behalf of all the American tourists, I sincerely apologize. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
It could have been anyone, Lou.
Sure, honey.
Sure. He just happened to be over for St. Patrick's Day, you know. It was unfortunate for him too.
Sure.
And so I have a spinal injury from there, and a year later, I finished my degree just about with epidurals and a lot of pain medication. And
wow.
In 2005, September 2005, then I had spinal surgery. And it was only ever going to be 50-50 chance of recovery. And it didn't help at all. It made things worse. And
wow.
I tried to get back on my feet, and I was having these bad falls. And so in 2007, I ended up with a wheelchair.
Yes.
Mainly because I couldn't walk very far.
Yeah.
And I was still managing around the house at the time, but
okay.
Footpaths and things like that were difficult. And
yeah.
And so in 2006, actually, I got a personal assistant, and that helped me get out of the house and get me involved with a cross-border project for women with disabilities.
Right. Very good.
And that was kind of the beginning of recognizing.
Yeah, go on.
that was the beginning of having to recognize myself as a woman with a disability,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was very difficult, and
Sure.
I can, cried my eyes out over that, and
Sure, honey.
the last thing I want to haven't studied 6 years was to have to view myself as that or be viewed as that,
Yeah.
and so that didn't help my mental health at all, and
Sure.
but this group was so empowering to get involved with, and I was so lucky to meet all these other incredible women who also had their own struggles, and
Yeah.
it was the first time since in 2 years that I felt like I wasn't alone.
Great. Great.
You know,
Yes. Yes.
and
So,
so we put a project together, and we applied for funding. It's all the Carmody, who's born visually impaired and is now a wheelchair user as well. The two of us spent a year applying for funding, and we got every little bit of the funding because it was cross border.
okay.
And so we had fun moving around 25 women, sometimes more, cross
Right.
border. We had 2 residential weekends each side of the border, and made artwork with them and drawing workshops, and I was filming and documenting all of it as well.
Right.
And then we put an exhibition together we launched that in 2009,
Okay.
and that started at the Leitrim Sculpt Centre in Manahamilton. We then went north to Enniskillen, Derry, Belfast, went out to London, and came back to Sligo.
And what kind of reception did that get?
Incredible for the most part.
Yeah, I think
They
so.
were, yeah, incredible. The women who were involved was incredible. A lot of them had been traumatized themselves from the Troubles,
Right. Right.
and had their own mental health problems, and it really brought them out of themselves to do drawing and work with charcoal, and some of them had never even seen any art, done any art, so
Right.
it was really great to see them blossom, because some of them went from having very little confidence to having the confidence to turn up and take their portraits that were going to be hung in the exhibition. And when they turned up for the portrait, they had their hair done and they were wearing beads, and they were, they took ownership of their own portraits.
Yes,
You know?
and of themselves, I think you're saying as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So let me just jump in for 1 second. This is really good now. So the projects that you did at that time were helping you to move through your adjustment to yourself as a disabled person, but not being limited by that, and using your
Yeah.
skills and using the disability both as a way to empower other disabled people,
Yeah.
as a teacher, as an inspiration, as an example, and then really healing a lot of the rift between the North and the South about the Troubles, which I know is quite deep to this day. And sure, 10 years ago was a whole different story, 14 years ago, etc. Right?
Mm.
It's very deep. All right. And so then also helping women find their voices.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you were making a film about all this. You were shooting this and using this in your installations and whatnot.
Yeah. We made a short documentary film around that as well, which
Right.
was a part of the exhibition.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this so let's talk. You wanted me to bring you at some point to talk about the traumatic brain injury experience.
Yeah. Well, I had done 6 years work on this project, and then kind of got a bit burnt out because voluntary work and working with groups is full on, and I got a bit tired from it, and so I wanted to kind of go back to study for myself again. So I went to do my master's in Dublin and got accepted, and that was amazing. And my MA is in art in the contemporary world. And it was during that one of the days I was driving back after having had my first solo show in West Cork and all of that too. Somebody went into the back of me and I hit my head off the steering wheel and back onto the headrest. And the next day I had no memory of who I was, who the people around me were, and didn't even realize I had that memory loss until they diagnosed the brain injury in 2017.
So it took, how long was it from the accident to the diagnosis?
5 years.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, so I was still making work though. I mean, I just, I still managed to make some work anyway. You know, I had residencies and a European residency, Irish residency, Northern Irish residency, that I was still making work, but I just didn't realize that I had all this past stuff that I had no memory of.
Sure, sure. And Hun, you were telling us, that in the process of making this first project in 3 years, that
Mm,
you've been looking back at a lot of your older work and older pictures and
yeah.
videos and all that, and how traumatic but also cathartic, maybe is fair,
Oh yeah.
it,
Yep.
it has been to journey back into all of that. And there's a lot of stuff there that it's like you're seeing it for the first time, or you're seeing like you're a very different person than you were before
Mm.
the injury, etc.
Yeah, well, I mean, I even though I was making films, I wasn't as such doing any drawing or painting or anything like that. So in going back through my own work and reminding myself of the work that I used to make, this week I've managed to overcome a huge barrier that for me was anytime I went to try and put pencil to paper, I broke into tears. It was such a block for me, you know. So,
Yeah, well, I'm
um,
so proud of you for managing that.
mm,
Congratulations.
so that's huge for me.
Yeah, honey, yeah, this is what I like to do in those moments. Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, sweetheart. Yeah. So honey, you have just journeyed so heroically, with your own healing journey, and with using and exploring your art and your creativity as a way to find your power, find your voice. I was saying before we got on here, I just watched your video from the installation. It's really well done. It's really thoughtful.
Thank you.
It's really it pulled me in very, very deeply. Um, I know in Artist Way, you talked about being in your wheelchair and getting strapped onto a little a flotation device or boat, and being on the water with your friends looking after you. And did you have, is that the one where you had a camera strapped to your head?
That particular scene, the camera was strapped to the board,
Okay, all right. The camera on your head was when you were rolling down a big
and
hill in
in
Dublin.
the film I was just made called Mother, you'll see the second last image is me on the water on
Right,
the board in
right.
the chair.
Right, right. Yes. So I mean,
Yeah.
that is just your unstoppable courage, woman, is just so moving to me, and your fierce fighting spirit to not be limited by anything. Um, so yeah, hon, I just, I love you. I'm so honored to know you and call you my friend, and I'm so inspired by your example. And for people who want to see your art and this installation, where do they go to find that?
Well, this particular one is up on Facebook on a group called Imagine. So about for any creatives, it's definitely worth checking out. They're very supportive and they're Hamley and Hamley at Dunbar House Gallery. So if you're ever in Enniskillen, you can find them there.
Okay.
Um, and they've already been involved with a group show there a couple of years ago now of one of my photographs, and they're very supportive. And the group, anyone can join, and all of those links can be found on my page as well.
Right. Which is
And
Kathy O'Leary is your page. Yeah. Kathy O'Leary is your page.
Yeah, I have one as on my profile, but I also have a page, Kathleen O'Leary Multidisciplinary, on Facebook, and I have my website as well, Kathleen O'Leary Artworks, at WordPress.com.
Brilliant. Now here's the extra question.
And so I'm known as Kathy, but my full name is Kathleen.
Yes, and of course, as you know, I prefer to call you Kathleen for some mysterious reason, which is my pleasure. Yes.
Yeah.
So
that's okay.
Yes, thank you. You're very kind to let me get away with that. So do we want to talk for a minute about the extra credit question here, which is your work intuitively and doing readings for people and as a healer and these kinds of things?
Yeah, that's I can talk about art till the cows come home, but talking about being a healer, Lou, is a bit more tricky for me. But I know that having experienced very traumatic situations and having come through them, and still, it's a process. I still have bad days where it's difficult.
Sure, honey. Sure.
But I've been lucky that I have so much support to have gotten me to this point that I can speak about it.
Yes. Yes.
And I think even just in my own experiences, I know that I have healing abilities within myself, but I'm also interested to help other people. And I suppose years ago I was bought a deck of tarot as a present years ago.
Yeah.
And then with that was kind of one of the memories that I had lost, that I was doing that work.
Oh, okay.
So it's only in the last few years, again, as a way of helping myself, I got in contact with the cards again.
Right.
And now I'm giving very clear messages through the cards, through the divine.
Yeah. Yeah.
That really the cards are confirmation more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Yes, that's how I feel about it too.
Yeah.
Honestly, when let me tell you my story for a second. So I opened to channel in 1992 after taking a class, and at one point I was living in Sedona, Arizona, around 2000, around the year 2000, and I was wanting to support myself doing this work. And what I found is that I needed to learn how to do cards, because I could tell people the information anyway, but they weren't able to trust it so well, except that when I did the cards, I could tell them their story here you are, and here's this, and here's that. And they could go, oh, I get it. And it was, just the, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So it's great, because when you've been on a deep inner journey, as we both have, and you really are challenged to listen to, trust, and follow your loving inner guidance, your intuition, then you do get very perceptive about it, because you have to, basically. And so doing the card readings is a way to share that with people. It's a wonderful way to empower people to trust themselves, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's really what it is, because like I've been speaking to very empowered people, and they're like, well, if you're getting clear messages, you don't need the cards. And then I'm like, well, I don't personally need the cards, but other people do find it easier
Sure.
to have it confirmed. It's like it's working through you, but
Yes.
like you say, it's the trust that it gains from it.
Yes. That's well said, hon. It's less confronting, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's a gentler, easier way to kind of look at something neutral, the cards on the table, as opposed to the two of us talking with each other, saying you need to look at this. This is important, and be aware of this, and these kinds of things. Um, but it's exciting that you're doing that as well. So, would you like for people to come and get a reading from you? Is that something you're open to doing for folks?
Of course, if they
Okay.
feel it's I'm the if I'm the right person, if they feel I'm the right person for them,
Sure.
it's not really up to um, I've been I've received readings from other people, and they always check with their divine source
Sure.
to make sure they're reading for the right person as well.
Sure.
So
Sure.
something that I'm aware of, that you have to find the right person for you.
Sure. Well, I think that's right, honey.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I've been an artist for years. I've been studying art for years, and it's very difficult to make a living from it.
sure, sure, sure. So you're,
So I suppose
yeah, sorry, dear. Go on.
I need to have another way of income, um to not be on this poverty trap,
Sure, dear. Sure. Well, you have so many lovely gifts, my friend. And I'm just happy to create some space with you to invite people to work with your art, work with your journey, support your artivism and your activism and your advocacy for yourself and others who deserve deeply and richly more support from all of us who are blessed to have you in our lives. And glad to hear you offering people readings as well, because you have a great gift in that area also. So thank you for that.
And thank you for your support, Lou. The Artist Way it's been so healing for me, because I have felt blocked creatively, about how to move forward and how to acknowledge, I suppose, for one, that I had this brain injury, and it can be difficult to speak sometimes, and it affects my speech. And that was a concern for me, even doing the readings, that I wouldn't be able to speak clearly. And even with being an artist, you're expected to do artist conversations and be in conversation with the artist, and it really knocked my confidence a lot.
Sure, honey. Well, you've come a huge, huge long way, my friend.
So I'm rebuilding, if you like,
Yeah, you are. Yeah, yes, you are.
in a
Absolutely.
lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and hun, thank you for sharing all that again, because honestly, I can't say that I knew
Mm.
I've never noticed that you've had any trouble with expressing yourself or your words. That's not anything I'm consciously aware of. So, however you manage that, you do very well with that.
Well, I do the meditations that I've been doing, Lou, has been a huge help, because when I get anxious, that's when my voice is really affected.
Well, now
So,
you're just spoiling me, but go ahead.
but that's really what, like, because up to the brain injury being diagnosed, I wasn't such doing a daily practice of meditation. So because of the brain injury, I was responding really badly in a lot of ways. When I was getting anxious, I just couldn't hold back. I get really angry and frustrated. And now I'm not as bad, and so my speech isn't as bad either.
Yes, yes, good.
But yeah,
Yeah. Well, and you see, I'm glad you're sharing all that. I'm saying, because that self-care and self-nurturing, including the willingness to meditate and to ask for clear guidance, or, you know, to pray, any of those things, keeping a journal as we do in the Artist Way, all of these
Yeah.
things, you know, as you and I know, hun, these are the tools that help people to take time and make space to really look after ourselves. And that always, when we start to do that as a practice every day of our lives, that starts to flow over, you know, and then get expressed. Like I loved how you were talking about the women, you know, dressing up and wearing the beads and all that at their art show and things like that. And you're looking very, very lovely today, I want to tell you. And, you know, you've got this new show, and we're finally having our little chitty chat, which I've been asking you for some time. So, you know, you're blooming and blossoming. It's a wonderful thing. Yeah, it's wonderful. So thank you for sharing all that.
Well, all I can say is I've been putting the pieces of myself back together at a soul level, at a physical level, mental, emotional level, and still got a while bit to go, but feeling like I'm more myself, having done the meditations and the counselling and the art psychotherapy and so much healing that I've done.
Yes, yes. Brilliant, brilliant. Well, sweetheart, I say again, thank you for your time, your lovely presence, your great art, your blazing intuition, and your fearless and wonderful courage, and your unshakable sense of humor. All of that is yeah. So thank you, thank you. We'll leave it there for the moment, and we'll invite everyone to connect with you
Okay,
at
sure.
Kathy O'Leary on your Facebook, and Imagine for the One Woman Online Art Show, and to reach out to you for some lovely readings. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lou.
Sure, my pleasure, darling. Have,
Okay.
have a wonderful day. All my love,
You
and
too.
talk with
Loads of
you soon.
love to you too.
Okay, thanks. Thanks a million.
Bye. Okay.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye for now.
Bye.